Welcome to the Star Podcast.
Whoa. Star Podcast.
Welcome to the Star Podcast, hosted by Nat. Each week, we share tips and stories from safety, trucking, and recruitment, and everything in between. Listen now.
It was my absolute pleasure to sit down with Tom Laughren and talk all about his career and get some really amazing career advice from him. As you may know, Tom is the former Mayor of Timmins. He's also had a lengthy career as heavy equipment operator, crane operator, and in the mining industry itself. So he's had a really interesting career. He shares information about his mentors and gives some career advice for anyone looking to change careers or just in general. So definitely need to take a listen to this. It's a must-listen episode. So listen now. Well, I just wanted to first start by welcoming you to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you very much, Leslie. It's a great opportunity and nice to see your smiling face.
Yes. Yes, I think we met once maybe at a sales meeting with Nat?
Yeah, we met. It was a couple of day thing. We had gone out for dinner, and great group of people, and it's a great organization for sure.
Nice. So I was hoping that to get started, you could tell me a little bit about yourself, your career, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, it's pretty simple for me. I really grew up in Schumacher, which is part of Timmins. My grandfather had come in 1918 to Schumacher. He was at that time. He had a team of horses, graduated up to trucks. My dad worked for the municipality. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, went to school at public school in Schumacher and then on to high school in South Porcupine, and did up to my grade 13. Went out into the working world. I was always, I'm going to say, a guy who was into heavy equipment, so I did work for the municipality in public works for about 3.5 years. And then I went to work for a company called Gorf Contracting. I was there for almost 27 years.
Oh, wow.
There I did a variety of things. I'm a crane operator, I always say, by trade, but heavy equipment, floats, tractor trailers, excavators, bulldozers. Was married in 1978, and still proud to say that I am. Have 3 children, 3 girls, 2 still live in Timmins. One is in Calgary. And beyond my time at Gorf, I was Mayor of Timmins for 8 years. I was on council for almost 10.
Wow.
President of the local Chamber of Commerce, left the mayor's seat in 2014 on my own, I may say, and went to work for a mining company in Timmins, Lakeshore Gold, as their corporate social responsibility person. Was there for 4.5 years, really great job, really great people, and moved back to the city as the fire chief. I've been a volunteer. I'm just finishing up my 46th years as being part of the fire department.
Wow.
So I was the fire chief in Timmins for 3.5 and retired in late 2022.
Wow.
So that's really me in a nutshell. We have family, home. We travel lots. We're trying to do some things that we didn't do when we had young kids and working, and like to get away in the winter and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh, nice. You basically had a whole career before and then you were mayor and council and did all that. Like, it's almost like you've had a few career lifetimes.
Yeah. There's not too many people, I don't think, that would have that type of career. I mean, I've been on a variety of boards and that, but I mean, I would never trade it in again. The experiences that I got, the people, that I got to meet, very similar to Nat, right? There's a lot of great people who work in all kinds of different communities, and to be able to, have those people as either partners, mentors. I've been lucky in my life, and and we're blessed with that for sure.
Absolutely. Was there any of your careers that stood out that you enjoyed the most, or was it just overall you enjoyed all of them?
Well, I always say it this way, right? At the end of the day, I've always enjoyed everything I've done. I
Yes.
wouldn't trade any of it. The political side is not an easy arena to be in. I think it's tougher today than it was, kind of in my days. But at the end of the day, I've always loved equipment. That's probably always going to be my passion. But to have the career choices that I had, and it's sometimes funny how those things happen. Like to probably like the fire chief's role or the mining role was probably not something I ever had in my career path.
Right.
And they just happened to be. I was probably in the right place at the right time, and maybe with a little bit of the right resume and what people were looking for. And that I'll say really enhanced my career for sure.
Nice. And
And I
being
and I
open
think
to,
Yeah, and I think, having strong family values, my wife was very supportive, my children very supportive. You need that too as well. You have to be supportive of each other and,
right.
all the different things that you want to do.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you have any advice for someone who's maybe thinking of switching careers and thinks, well, this is just what I do, I can't change now? Like, do you have any insights into that?
Yeah, well, I think, if I had to do anything again, I might have changed a few extra times, right? I mean, even though you enjoy what you're doing, I think change is great for people. I think it reinvigorates you. The only really advice that I have is I've always been a hard worker. If I put my mind to do something, I do it. You learn as you go, to not be afraid to ask people for advice. Or if
Hmm.
you have a question, I always say there's no such thing as a stupid question. And I think have confidence in yourself. I think, the reason some of us we get comfortable in our jobs, even though we may not always be really happy, we continue to do them because, they put food on your table and pay your bills. But I think there's lots of opportunities. And when I look at young people today coming out of school, I don't think it really matters what you take. As long as you got a good education, whatever you graduated in from, high school, university, college, that doesn't mean that you can't do other things. So to me, you're smart enough to learn. You did the studies. There's no reason that you can't move on and do something different. And I think you have to look for those opportunities. And I'm glad. I probably didn't think of that when I was 18 years old and going out into the work world, but now looking back. I think that would be a piece of advice that I could give.
Absolutely. That's a great piece of advice. I think, yeah, you go away to school and then you come out thinking, I need to be this thing. But if you decide you want to veer off that path, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with doing so. You can
No,
always
and
go
I,
back and,
yeah, and I think, at the end of the day, when you're 17 or 18 years old, because I mean, high school's, only to grade 12 now, do you really know what you want to do for the rest of your life? But
yeah,
I think it's important. I think in today's age, it's important to get an education. I think it's important, I look at the trades, I look at, heavy equipment, I look at all those kind of opportunities, and I think we need more people to be thinking that, and at least giving them a try, because nothing stops you from going back to school either.
right. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you were very interested in into heavy equipment, and I believe you said crane operator. Do you have any career tips for that? Just because within that, like we do deal with overhead crane and heavy equipment and things like that. So do you have any career tips for that?
Well, I think again today, I think when I started off, there was opportunities. I mean, on the crane side, you had to become an apprentice, and there was a set amount of hours that is probably a lot more than what it was back then. But I think to be looking ahead and thinking about doing those things, so utilizing companies like NAT, utilizing the college system, going to a company that may not always pay you the highest wages, but I think that will give you the best bang from a training perspective.
Yes.
Mentoring, having somebody to mentor you, I think is really, really important. And then I think you really don't want to be afraid to try anything. That was one of the things that, if somebody said, could you run this? I never said no. I might have said, I need somebody just to show me maybe how to start it, a little bit about the controls, and then just let me feel it out. And And I think, whatever advice those people are giving you, you take that advice as well. Because people who have been doing it for years and years and years doesn't mean they've been doing it wrong. And I mean, I think, young people today with the joysticks and the different controls that they now have versus when I started, some of them are just naturals as well.
Yes.
I think just be willing to ask for help and try.
You had mentioned a couple times like mentorship and asking questions. Who do you have any mentors or people that you look up to for advice?
Well, throughout my career, I had a lot. So my father-in-law was a very good mentor, even though he was a little bit rough around the edges at times. He gave you opportunity. And there was many people in my time at Gorf or at Lakeshore or in the city. I could think of the mayor's job as an example. The former mayor Vic Power, who had been in public service when he retired for 40 years. He was a good mentor for me, both on council and in the mayor's chair. In the mining industry, there was many of them. I think of a gentleman, Tony McCooch, gave me a real great opportunity. And I think it's just, again, to take advantage of that and not be afraid to utilize that and not be afraid to utilize others who have been in the industry, introduce yourself, be outgoing. I mean, because there's a lot of shy people that like to sit back, but I think, the more friends, people, socialization that you can do in those kind of businesses and industries, the more successful you will be.
Absolutely. Mark Arnold, who's the vice president of NAT, he wanted me to do this podcast with you, and I thought that was a fantastic idea. And he told me that the reason he wanted you to be on was he said, you align with our group because your values align with ours, and you're professional, respectful, honest, and you do the right things for the right reasons. So I just wondered what you thought of that.
Well, first of all, I would thank him for that compliment. But I think all those attributes, whether I have them all to the standard that Mark says, I'm not sure, but I think they are very important attributes. And I think, I first met Mark, I'm going to say back in my mining days, because part of my portfolio was overseeing the trucking companies that were providing services to Lakeshore and the ore and tailings haul, and they were short of people, right? So I had reached out to Mark and the NAT group to see if there was help and support. I very much knew, the Manitoulin Transport Group, which had, a lot of those same kind of attributes. And, they were very, like Mark came right away. He met with us. He offered some solutions. And, you get a feel for somebody in that kind of an atmosphere. And, so Mark had those kind of attributes, that when I met Kevin, I could see as well. And, to me, when you're looking at growing a business, being in business, dealing with people, the more you can be honest, upfront, gather the knowledge, trust the people that, are providing those services to you, take the opportunity to meet with the people who, the trainers, whether they're going to teach you transport driving or they're going to teach you confined space or working at heights. That's what I see in the NAT group. And, that's really kind of the values that I've had, all my life. And even, one of the things that I didn't mention earlier, but I think is important, and especially in today's day and age, is providing the training that is required for whatever discipline you're doing, whether it's construction, industrial management, mining, using that to your advantage. And, I think employers, when I started off, were very much into offering that training and taking opportunities. And I really think, that's where we need to get back to. And I think when you look at Mark, Kevin, the NAT group, that's something that they offer for sure.
Well, that's fantastic. Any last words or anything that you want to leave with people? I know you've shared lots of good tips.
I think really it's just, at the end of the day, and I'll be repeating myself here a little bit, but I think it's just really important to listen, take the opportunity for, meeting people, take the opportunity when something is offered to you. And I'm always a believer in if you're looking for somebody to provide you training as an example, not always the lowest cost that's going to provide you the best training. I think you have to look at what you want, what do your people need, what services can the provider provide, and then you work hard to put it in place, and you have the right people taking the training. And because safety's always been a big priority for myself, and I think that goes back to where safety standards were when I started versus where they are today. And I think it's important to learn those as well. I think, everybody, whether you're, the worker to the running the company, we all have a responsibility. And I think it's really to understand that responsibility, to be able to get the job done safely. And the better trained you are, the more productive you will be as well. Because that's really what we need in Ontario and Canada is productive workers.
That's a fantastic closing piece. Thank you very much. You provided us with a lot of great advice, and it was nice to hear about your career. You've had a successful, fantastic career, not just professionally, but like personally with your family and doing lots of traveling, and just sounds like you've had a really interesting, excellent life. So it was nice getting to talk to you for a little bit.
Thanks very much, Leslie, and we're going to try to continue it as well. Have a little bit of fun and a little bit more relaxation, but we're still going to be involved as best we can.
Absolutely. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and so glad that you could come on the podcast with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. All the best.
Star Podcast.
Whoa. Star Podcast.